Brantgate is the nation of set orders, being limited to 3 attacks and counterchargers. But that brings us to the question, what counterchargers should we run in each Brantgate deck? Let's start by discussing the 2 generic counterchargers in Brantgate. Right now there are 2 generic and 2 deck-specific counterchargers. Starting off strong, here is Detonation Mutant bulbamine. He works in any deck and can both countercharge 1 and put an additional card into his soul. This is the best generic countercharger, as it can refill 2 resources. It can also trigger on early turns and play around certain decks like Bruce or Seraph by removing itself off field and putting it in the soul. However, its main weakness comes from its speed. It can't countercharge until after battle, meaning you have to countercharge in advance for what you need. In most situations this isn't a problem, but this could hurt you late game. Next up is Ravenous Mutant Moron, who serves no purpose in the game right now, except to be the cheapest SP in the game. However, this card has some untalked about strengths that make it a ticking time bomb of value. First is the ability to countercharge immediately. Only one other countercharger can do this, and it's locked to Prison or Seraph decks. Second is its longevity. This card threatens a countercharge on every turn, no questions asked, which is a crazy value compared to other cards on this list. Third is the cost. While most Brantgate decks now don't play enough set orders to reliably trigger this card, future decks, such as Gravidia's, can easily pay the cost and might even benefit from having orders in the grave. This brings us to discussing deck-specific counterchargers, and what counterchargers we should run in each deck. The first specific card on this list is Cardinal prima eclopa. This functions exclusively with Orfist Shadow Army tokens. Its main benefit is that it can stick around for more than one turn to counterblast. It has 3 main drawbacks, however. It can't counterblast immediately, it can't counterblast till turn 3, and it requires a token to counterblast. But is this what Orfist needs? Orfist typically leans in the more long-term grindy gameplay. Orfist skill requires 2 counterblast. It's also very likely that your opponent will try to counterblast all of you before your first grade 3 turn. Orfist can also be heavy on soul depending on the build. Taking these factors into account, I believe that Cardinal prima eclopa should be ran over bulbamine in Orfist decks. Cardinal prima eclopa threatens continuous value and therefore continuous hurt for your opponent. Bulbamine providing soul is good, but it's not significantly needed because only 2 cards really soul charge in Orfist. These are Howling Moonlit Knight and Cardinal Draco Zelga. A potential 2 counterblast from eclopa really does put it over bulbamine in consideration. However, for more aggressive builds, I recommend using bulbamine, as he can activate his skill before turn 3. Also, in order to run Moron, you'd have to run about 4 copies of every order for his skill to be consistent. This brings us to Aura Battle Princess Wrapper Plun, the specific countercharger for Seraph. If you have an excessive number of cards in your opponent's prison, this card can either countercharge immediately or soul charge 3. But is this what Seraph needs? Large amount of soul blast, consistent counterblast, Seraph likes to grind games out. I believe that Aura Battle Princess Wrapper Plun is better in Seraph due to its versatility and immediacy. Plun is definitely a late game card, but this isn't a major problem, as it's late game will you need to see the counterblast or soul charge. Although despite this, I don't believe Seraph needs a countercharger. Quite simply, you don't use enough counterblast, even in the more counterblast heavy builds. But if you do, I recommend running Aura Battle Princess Wrapper Plun at 2 to 3. Thanks for watching this tech test. We have more content coming up, including Draconic Overlord and Seraph deck list. I hope y'all stick around till then.